a lot about Chanukah. I wrote in my book, The Mystical Glory, Service and Festivals. One can get my book, Glazerson.com, many other books also. So my book deals with many festivals, Sabbaths, but there are quite few pages about Chanukah. So I try to show really deep ideas about Chanukah, very some not so known, but very, very interesting one. So let us start with a very interesting idea brought by Sfas Emet, which says the following. So this is what he says about the 8 days of Chanukah, which the rabbis established. It is known, not in the Torah. You have indications in the Torah to Chanukah, but you don't have, definitely is not festival was established from the Torah. It was by the rabbis, the establishes. As a memorial to the miracle of the oil. As you know quite well the story. But our rabbis tell us that there is similarity between Sukkot, the festival of 8 days, and the 8 days of Chanukah. Both have the same number, but not only the number of days is the same, but there is much deeper idea, as Chanukah is a reflection of the 8 days of the holiday of Sukkot. Reflection. It means basically Chanukah is in it light of Sukkot. How it comes out. So connection between Chanukah and Sukkot is recognizable from the similar ideas which these holidays represent. The ideas behind Chanukah and Sukkot are similar. How? On Chanukah, the central theme is a victory over Israel's enemies and revelation of the divine presence. Similarly, on Sukkot, the sacrificing of the oxen, animals, which represent the hostile nations of the world, symbolizes the destruction of Israel's enemies. This metaphoric image is joined with the mitzvah of the Sukkah, which is, in essence, alludes to the divine presence shielding Israel. This is the root of Israel's victory over its oppressors. On Chanukah, the illumination from the candles is a sign of the power of the divine presence which aids Israel in the struggle against its foes, enemies. So, both Chanukah and Sukkot represent the victory of Jews, Israel, over their enemies. And unfortunately, there are many of them. There are physical ones, basically, not interested that a nation of Israel will exist, like you see Amalekites. Today also, Iran, they want to wipe out Israel physically. But there are nations, definitely in the past, who were entrusted the Jews will leave their traditions, their faith in God, in the Torah, and will get there, like Christianity. How many Jews were killed, murdered, whatever you call it, because Christians want them to become Christians. You know the story of the Inquisition. Yeah? And there are, even today, enemies, spiritual enemies, against the purity of Jews, which was the Chanukah, the Greeks. Yes, the Greeks were not interested to kill Jews. They want Jews to give up their Torah, to give up their purity. Therefore, they made decree they should not circumcise, should not keep Sabbath. You know quite well. So it was opposition to the spiritual side of Judaism. But we have both of them, unfortunately, also today. Those who want to destroy them physically, like Iran, and spiritually. Unfortunately, in Israel itself, if you want to destroy them spiritually, not keeping the Shabbos, not keeping the purity of life, men and women. So, Chanukah, basically, is a symbol of this kind of animals who were not interested to kill Jews physically, only spiritually, not to keep the Sabbath, not to circumcise. But physically they did not. In fact, this is the reason why the festival of Chanukah, we emphasize mainly the spiritual victory, not a great mitzvah to eat, to have meals and so on, no. From the other side, on Purim, when the Amalekite, Haman, he wanted to destroy them physically. He did not want the Jewish nation to exist, like Iran today. Persia is the past in Iran today. So they want to destroy the physical existence of Israel, of Jews. So therefore, on Purim, that we had such great miracle, therefore on Purim we have a mitzvah to eat and to enjoy, even to praise God. So this is really the example. Purim and Chanukah are basically two festivals representing the physical and the spiritual. The same thing also Sukkot. As Sukkot, one can say represent both of them. And these are, as it is known, on Sukkot we bring 70 bullocks for offering against the 70 nations. Now 70 nations against Israel. Not of them wanted to do them physically, even also spiritually. So basically, Sukkot is both together. So you have Sukkot, then you have Chanukah, then you have Purim. It is very interesting that Purim, one day, is like the continuation of Shavuot, one day. On Shavuot we got the Torah. You know the story in Sinai. God forced Jews to accept. Yeah, he puts them under, the story, under the mountain. They say, no, we are going to do. But our rabbis tell us the Jews accepted at that time the written Torah. But the oral Torah, the rabbis will decide, they did not. But on Purim, when they saw the greatness of Mordechai, the great rabbi, and Esther, then they understand the power of rabbis, and they accepted the oral Torah, which definitely is based on rabbis. They decide things there. So this is really the idea of Sukkot and Chanukah, as we said. Now let us see a deeper idea about the relationship between Chanukah and Sukkot. This is described in our mystical books. So these books say that Sukkot is considered to be the holiday of Aaron. Aaron the priest, the high Kohen, the high priest. The man whose meritorious conduct earned Israel the protection of the clouds of glory, while they journeyed in the wilderness. You know quite well the story. This is really why we see it in the Sukkah, to remember the greatness of God, the loving kindness of God, to surround us with clouds, will defend us. Then, also very interesting is the idea that in Midrash, really, the Midrash says the following. The Midrash relates that Israel merited the holiday of Chanukah also because of Aaron. Interesting. Why? What was the story? So the Midrash says that Aaron was sad because he could not participate in the dedication of the tabernacle. You know the story. All the tribes brought offerings, but Aaron did not. So he could not participate in the dedication of the tabernacle. So God consoled him by giving him a function greater than the princes of the tribes, who had brought the sacrifices as a dedication. So what Aaron is different, why is greater? So the rabbi said the Midrash Aaron would be lightening the oil lamps in the tabernacle. So the lightening would not only be carried out there in the temple, but it would be an external lightening. The Ramban cites the Midrash stating that the eternity is expressed in the kindling of the Chanukah lights, which continues even after the destruction of the temple. So amazing. So in fact, when God said to Aaron, yours is greater, lightening the candles is greater, why? It should be the same thing like the offering limited to the time of the temple. Said, no, your lightening will carry on all over history of the Messiah. Those lights of Chanukah are those lights which also were in the tabernacle, in the temple. Amazing. From to Kabbalah, the hidden light was shining from them. So, you see that Chanukah is a holiday which Israel merited through Aaron, just as we are indebted to him for the holiday of Sukkot, so Chanukah. So amazingly, both Chanukah and Sukkot basically is a merit of Aaron, the clouds of glory, which is the basis of Sukkot, wherein the merit of Aaron and the light that we light on Chanukah also is in the merit of Aaron. It is so interesting that the Tikkunei Zohar, and not Tikkunei Zohar is Kabbalah, also comments that Chanukah expresses the grandeur of the attributes of Aaron. On Chanukah, God appears as Israel's shield and fortress, just as he was to them in the deserts, evidenced by the clouds of glory which envelop the camp of Israel. It is very interesting that the month of Chanukah is called Kislev in Hebrew. Kislev, Chodesh Kislev, the month of Kislev. And every name of the month, a meaning. The name of the month Kislev pertains to this idea, where we find written in our holy books that the root of the word Kislev is Kesel, which denotes fortitude and security. As said in scriptures, is written there, Yasher ikot kislo bet kabishtocho, which means whose security shall be cut off and whose trust shall be spider's web. So the word kislev there, yeah, means really forthright, means castle. Instead of said that the English word castle, and same idea. It also represents this idea of the name castle, which in the Bible we see that it means really security, fortitude. So the month of Kislev is the month of security. We saw it. Jews in Chanukah managed to overcome such empire like the Greeks, no? Hoping that this Chanukah also. You have lots of enemies. Iran and others want to destroy Israel, anti-Semites. Our sages found many allusions in the Torah to the holiday of Chanukah. We say that Chanukah basically was established by rabbis, but nevertheless our rabbis found very interesting allusions to Chanukah in the Torah. Chanukah is alluded to through the commandments of lightening the lamps of the menorah in the Holy Tabernacle, which is described at the end of the weekly portion of Emor. So Emor is a portion which a lot of festivals are mentioned there, and definitely the festival of Sukkot, which is towards the end of the portion. So this topic immediately follows the conclusion of the laws concerning Sukkot and the very close proximity of the commandments of lightening the oil lamps to the section an appointed season is in indication that a new festival was destined. It means there is a portion Tetzaveh, commanding, and in this portion, God commanded Moses to kindle, to put the light in the temple, the menorah. Amazing. And this comes immediately after the story of Sukkot. So the very close proximity of the commandments of lightening the oil lamps to the section on appointed season, and in indication that a new festival was destined to the instituted, and that as the core of the new festivals would be the mitzvah of lightening the menorah. Amazing. So here are the indication of Chanukah, which comes after Sukkot, like in the Torah. The command of lighting in the temple comes after the command of keeping Sukkot. So this also, said the Rokeach, indicates that like Sukkot is 8 days, so the festival of lightening the menorah is also this is.